go on.
Well, I can see you guys. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, we just can't see you, that's all. But that's okay. That's fine.
I'll figure that out, but I do hear you and you can hear me, so.
Yeah, that's fine. We can get started now. And Rochelle, I believe you have got the recording started for us this morning?
Yep, we're all set.
Great, good. So we'll get started. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Plumbing and Piping Work Examining Board meeting. Today is July 27th, October 26th, 2023. At this time, I would like the board members to review the minutes that were sent to them, and I'd ask for a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting of July 27, 2023.
Mr. Chairman, I have a
motion. Okay, you have a correction, Peter?
I was present at that meeting.
Yeah, I don't have you on that list. Okay, we'll make that record. Rochelle, can we add Peter Alfieri to the minutes today that he did attend the July 27, 2023 meeting?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
Do we have a motion on the floor to accept the minutes with the addition of Mr. Alfieri?
So move.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Passes. Okay, so
I don't think anyone seconded that motion.
yes, I believe we did have a second by Peter Alfieri. Oh, we had a motion. Okay, I'm sorry. Then I asked for discussion. Do we have a second from someone?
I'll second it.
Joe Policia, seconded. Okay, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
We have a DCP investigation report in front of us.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. This is Pamela Brown. I believe Janita is going to be reporting out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Pam, for stepping in. We have three cases here in front of us that look like I believe the three of them are closed.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Director Brown, thank you. I was having a problem getting to unmute. You do have three closed files there. One was a duplicate of another file that we had received. The consumers wrote to the AG's office and they sent it, and then she sent one, but the documentation was on the second file, so we closed this one. It was the same person on the same allegation, so it was closed. The other one is related to an open second case that was part of a home improvement complaint. And this person was the one who obtained the permit and didn't pay attention to the fact that the home improvement contractor was doing some work or having some of his buddies do work on the file. So he obtained a permit and unlicensed people worked under his permit, and he was assessed. He was given an assurance of voluntary compliance and was assessed a civil penalty in the matter.
Would that be the $5,500 fine?
Yes. Yes, sir. It's
Okay.
forfeiture, but yes, sir.
Thank you. The second case, it was an ethical conduct workmanship. That file was closed as well. There was no fine attached to that.
No, sir. This file is closed. If you will notice, the resolution says it's a duplicate case.
Oh, okay, I got you. Thank you.
And the other case is open and under investigation.
Okay. Thank you. Does any board members have any questions for Janita this morning in reference to these three particular names here? Having none, thank you, Janita. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, under old business, we have an application review. The name is Andrew Horvath. Is he here today? Is he supposed to be in front of the
I'm on
board
audio.
today? Okay, I don't see you, but I'm gonna try to look for you.
I'm on audio.
Okay, I see you down there now. Okay, very good, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hurlbut, I see some paperwork here, 2 packages here that you presented to the board. To
Yeah.
discuss. You want to?
Last time we spoke, sorry, I'll let you go.
No, I was going to ask you to give us a briefing as to your concerns in front of the board today.
Yeah, no. So last time we spoke, I was trying to apply to take the J2 examination. I've been in the filtration industry and a plant operator, class 2 plant the class 2 plant operator certificate for 20 years, since 2004, almost 20 years. I have the field experience, but the education component, I was questioning, and you guys during our last meeting said if you can provide some of the certificates of the training that I've done, you may be able to approve them for education hours for the requirement to sit for the exam. My initial email to you guys was that I know of 2 other people in my industry that went into business for themselves that were able to bypass the education requirement and sit for the exam. But again, that was kind of frowned upon in my specific situation. So you asked me to provide the certificates to see if I could at least get some credit for those classes that I've taken.
Well, I do know now that the Connecticut Water Well Association, that I believe you're a member of, correct?
Correct. Yeah, they're working on that.
Yep, they are working on that. So you came before that.
Correct.
And we approved in our, I believe it could be our last board meeting or 2. It could be 3 months or 6 months ago. I'm not sure which one it was. We approved that curriculum at a J1, J2 level. So you came in before this. You've had years of experience in this industry. I've noticed, and I've been following water analysis is going on, water supply and treatment systems with the PFAS, which is now coming out to the forefront, especially here in Connecticut. It's making the news national, but it's so it's good to see, Mr. Earl, but your time early on here, back in March 29th of 23, jumping on that. I have no reason myself to hold you back from sitting for a J2 myself, but I'd like to ask my board members if they have any questions for you. Board members, you guys are on mute. Peter, you're open. Does anybody have any questions?
I personally don't, Mr. Chairman. I think he's, I agree with you. I think we should let him sit for the test. He's got taking necessary steps to obtain the license or sit for the license test.
Okay, I appreciate that. We do have Aaron Nachbar. I just believe he just joined us. I just saw him come on. Aaron is our well driller of record. Perhaps he could weigh in on what his thoughts are on Mr. Hurlbut.
I am in favor of letting Andrew proceed. I think that his documentation is certainly adequate, and I am aware of his experience in the industry. I think it is certainly reasonable for him to sit for the exam.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Hurlbut before I ask for a motion from the floor? Having none, could we have a motion on the floor to allow Mr. Hurlbut to apply for the J2 license?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Deny? Unanimous. Good luck, Mr. Hurlbut. Thank you for putting this all together. I know you're going to probably be a teacher for this industry coming up, and we appreciate your efforts and your family business efforts as well over the years. Congratulations. I'm glad you got over the line here.
All right. Well, I appreciate your help, guys. Thank you so much for the consideration.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Take care.
So,
Bye.
Okay, the next reconsideration is the reconsideration hearing is Christopher F. Covino. Case number 2019-1389. Is this a good time to start that hearing, Attorney Fernandez?
Sorry, had a hard time also getting off of me. Yes, absolutely, we can start.
That's okay, no problem. We got you loud and clear. Okay. All right. So I'm going to read up on this a little bit here. Mr. Covino?
Yes, sir.
Getting a little static noise in the background. Do you know where we're getting that from?
No, I don't have any noise here at all. It's very quiet
Okay.
here where I am.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you for being present today, being on time.
Okay, thank you.
Being able to get on here, okay? At this time, Attorney Fernandez, can I give the oath to this participant in this meeting?
Yes, I think we should run through the script, just because he has some rights that he should be aware of, and he
Sure.
should be sworn in after that. That would be
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah, thank you. Just give me a minute, Mr. Covino. We'll get that started. I just got to fill in a couple spots here, okay?
Certainly. Thank you.
Okay, I'm ready to go. So, you can hear us fine, Mr. Covino?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
You can hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Great. Good morning. This is a contested case hearing being held by the Plumbing, Piping, Examining Board, State of Connecticut, October 26, 2023. The case number is 2019-1389. My name is Charles E. Appleby Sr. I am Chairman of the Plumbing, Pipe, and Examining Board for the State of Connecticut, Department of Consumer Protection. I have been designated as the presiding officer in this matter. For the record, I will ask that board members who will participate in this matter to identify themselves at this time. We'll start with Melissa Sheffy, please.
Melissa Sheffy, Public Board Member.
Thank you.
Peter Alfieri, licensed board member.
Thank you, sir.
Carlton Pember, plumbing licensed board member.
And Mr. Nakbar, I believe.
Aaron Akbar, contractor member, plumbing board.
Thank you. I believe that's, no, we have one more out here. Mr. Policia.
Joseph Palekia, licensed contractor, plumbing contractor, board member.
Thank you, everyone. It is alleged that Christopher F. Covino, Covino, plumbing license number 0204-853-P1, has violated the provisions of the sections of the Connecticut General Statutes and sections of the regulations of the Connecticut State Agencies. This administrative hearing is being held in accordance with the general statutes with the regulations of Connecticut State Agencies. For the record, I note that this hearing is convened on 9:21 a.m. Today is October 26, 2023, via the Microsoft Office Teams video conferencing platform. The purpose of today's hearing is to provide an opportunity to present evidence on the matters raised in the complaint. The burden of proof is on the department to prove their case by a preponderance of the evidence, which means more likely than not that the respondent violated the laws alleged by the department. Evidence may be admitted either by oral testimony or by documents, and the strict rules of evidence as applied in a court of law are not applicable here. There is greater latitude in what is allowed as evidence in an administrative hearing. However, testimony will be under oath, and the rules of evidence as set forth in the Uniform Administrative Procedures Act for administrative hearings will apply. The proceedings today will follow this format. Both parties will be permitted time to present a short opening statement, starting with the counsel for the Department of Consumer Protection. After brief opening statements, the parties may call as a witness any person present here today who is competent to testify. Please focus on the facts that the board should have in order to render a fair decision. There will be an opportunity at the end of the hearing for each side to present a closing argument on why it feels its position should be upheld according to the facts that have been presented. All parties will have the opportunity to cross-examine each witness presented by any other party. If after one party has presented its case, any other party feels it is necessary to call further witnesses, they may do so. This procedure is followed until all sides are satisfied that the facts presented by each are fully and fairly presented and that the factual record is complete. Documents may be admitted into evidence either by agreement of the parties subject to the board's review as its relevancy and materiality or through the testimony of a competent witness. Documents submitted in advance are not considered into the record until one of the parties introduces the exhibit on the record during that hearing. Exhibits have been reviewed or exhibits have not been reviewed or in advance of this hearing today. At this time, Mr. Covino, do you have any questions? Mr. Covino,
I'm sorry.
can you hear us okay?
Yes, yeah, it was going in and out for a moment there. Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any questions about what I just said, or would you like me to start over?
No, I don't believe so. I think I'm okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So before we get started, please note the following protocols for this hearing. Number one, please speak clearly and at one at a time as this hearing is being recorded. Please keep your video cameras on throughout the hearing. Participants should not participate in a hearing while driving. Participants should keep their microphone on mute when they are not speaking and state their name when they do begin to speak. If a participant leaves their microphone on when somebody else is speaking, we may place that participant on mute. Please do everything possible to reduce any background noise around you. Please, unless this is specifically requested or necessary to put on your case. This hearing is recorded and available for public viewing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to speak during this hearing. This is an administrative hearing. The public may attend, but must remain muted. Exhibits that were sent in prior to the hearing will not be considered unless they are entered during the hearing. To enter an exhibit, the submitting party must reference the document and inform the board that they are entering the exhibit into the record. If you have any technology issues during this hearing, please call 860-840-2075. I'll repeat that for you, Mr. Covino.
All right, thank you. Yep,
860-840-2075. Conference
Okay.
ID reference 912-729-02 #, or email the department at DCP help GMP DESK at ct.gov. Do you need me to repeat any of this information to you at this time?
just the last email, the email address, that was all.
No problem.
The DCP,
Yes. Dot help HELP desk
okay?
DESK at ct.gov. One dot.
Okay, I got that. I got it, thank you.
Great. So you don't need me to repeat anymore. You're good.
Yes, sir, I'm all set.
Thank you. Okay. I now request that everyone present who is going to participate, everyone who is a party, an intervener, a witness or counsel, please state and spell out your legal name for the record, including what your position is in this hearing. Also, please state your mailing address so that we can confirm your identity. We will start now with the respondent. Is the respondent represented by counsel? Mr. Covino, do you have, are you being represented this morning by counsel?
No, I'm not.
Okay, thank you. Are there any witnesses present for you, the respondent?
No, sir.
Okay. So, complaint, please identify yourself.
My name is Christopher Covino. I live at 60 Woodledge Road, Stamford, Connecticut.
Can you repeat that address, please?
Yes, the address was 60 Woodledge Road, Stamford, Connecticut, 06907.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Who will provide to right hand so I can administer the oath. After I've read the oath, each person testifying must affirm by stating, "I do." So, Mr. Covino and Mr. Fernandez, do you raise your right hand as well?
No, I don't. Mr. Covino does.
Okay, Mr. Covino, thank you. Do you
Yes.
solemnly swear the evidence that you are about to give concerning the case now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury? I will now call on each person to affirm that oath.
Yes, I will.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
agree.
Covino. Thank you.
Thank you. Certainly.
I will now take evidence on the complaints and questions. Do the parties wish to make any opening statements? An opening statement is 2 or 3 sentences of what you intend to prove to me today.
So I can begin if that's okay.
Thank-
So this is just for background. This is just a quick reconsideration of Mr. Covino's decision in the CE audits cases that we've had recently. Mr. Covino unfortunately didn't submit proof of having taken the CEs during the time frame that was relevant, which was 2016 to 17. before the hearing and then didn't appear for the hearing. However, so the decision in that case was to fine Mr. Covino $1,000 as a result of that. But after receiving that decision, Mr. Covino did request in a timely fashion a reconsideration of that decision. So we haven't taken any action on his license. It's still active. The fine has not been collected. So Mr. Covino submitted evidence that he did take the course, the makeup class. I have some of that documentation that Mr. Covino sent in, if we can pull it up. Rochelle, please. So this is an email from Mr. Covino, which was forwarded from, I'm not sure what organization this is. If we can just go down that page a little. Right, you can see right there, Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors Association, showing that he took this course in 2022 for 2017 and 18. And then if we can go down another page, please. This is just an email also from Mr. Covino explaining that he took the makeup class, but it didn't necessarily reflect that it was a makeup for 2017, but I'll let him explain that aspect. I just wanted to at least give him the opportunity to post the document. And also if we can go down to the next email. And one more down. Yes. So here, Mr. Covino submitted proof of the CE. And this one is dated October 19th, 2019. I'm not sure if that's correct, since it shows a 2022-2023 curriculum year. But I'll let, again, Mr. Covino explain that aspect. And I think there's one more if we go down another page. Right, this was dated May 14th, 2022 also, and I'll just let Mr. Covino explain that. But I at least wanted to give him the opportunity to present this. The department does not take a position on whether or not the fine should be, reversed, or this is within the board's discretion completely. We don't take a position against him, this fine being reversed and the decision being completely reconsidered. And I think that's all I have. I will point out that I think I said the license is active, but the renewal or the expiration date, as you all know, is the 31st of this month. So his decision today would affect whether or not he can renew timely his license in the meantime. So thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Fernandez. Rochelle, can you back up to the first completion? That's the first one. Okay. Code is the Center for Occupational Development and Education. So that's the first one. So what's the date on that one? Okay, 19. So October 19. That'll clear up as 17, 18. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, May 14th, 223. So I believe at this point, Mr. Covino, you're current.
Yes, I believe so. That's what I'm hoping. I believe I am.
Okay, so we'll be starting the next curriculum coming up in the next couple months in Connecticut, just so you know. So you'll have to
Yes.
attend again, as you know, right, as a contractor.
Absolutely. Yeah, I made a mistake not doing the last one, and I tried to make up for it by doing the class, right away when they asked me to. I did do it. The problem was on their certificates, they didn't date it for what it was. They say, oh no, we just date it for the class that you have taken. But and that was supposed to be the makeup, and that was where the confusion was, because they just had the 2023 for the makeup on there.
Correct. And you have to take it a couple of times, right?
Yeah, and I spoke with the woman from who I took the class with, and she did send that letter stating that I did take it. So
Yes.
I think that's where the confusion, and then the other problem was I didn't realize that I had to submit all the paperwork in. I thought that since I had taken it, it would go onto my file and everybody would see it. So that was where the confusion was on me not sending it out at a timely manner originally. I didn't know that it wouldn't go right to you guys, once I finished my class.
Okay. Do you, and you currently have an active license with the department, correct?
Yes, I do. That's correct.
Very good. Okay. I'm going to ask other board members for their opinions on this case as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I I believe he's current, and I believe we should drop the fine and allow him to continue as a plumbing contractor in the state of Connecticut.
What's your recommendation of total removal of that fine?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Any
Yeah,
other
he
board
complied.
members? Yep. Any other board members have any questions?
My only question is, how did it get to this point? I mean, the evidence that's put on is that you were notified and nothing happened. And so I'm fine with what Pete said, but I'm just curious. I mean, you have to, in order to renew your license, you have to prove that you've taken these classes. So how are we, I guess my question is, how is this not going to happen again?
I'm not going to let it happen again. I'm going to make sure that when I have a class, I'm going to take it promptly and sign right up for it and take the class. I'm not going to let it happen again. You will never see me here in this situation again. I promise that.
Okay, great. Thanks.
It's my livelihood, and I have a family to support too. So I can't jeopardize this. And I apologize for taking all of your time up. This won't happen again. I promise.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Other board members? Okay. Joe, were you going to say something? Because you're on mute. I wasn't sure if you were making a comment or not. No, Mr. Polici, you're still on mute.
Yeah, my only question is that he missed the 16-17 session. Is that correct? And that was the fine is for?
Yeah, he made up for it. He went back
Okay.
and doubled up his classes. Yeah.
All right. And what about the 18, 19, 20, 21? Those sessions in between, those have been completed?
Yeah, he's got 3 certificates here. I think there's one dated October 19th to 22, one prior to that, which is May 14th in the same year. So he's done 3.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Any other people on the board? Mr. Pember or Mr. Nakbar, anybody have any questions there? Or? Okay.
No, I think I'm good at this point.
Okay, thank you. At this time, Mr. Alfieri, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll put that in the form of a motion to drop the fines and let Mr. Covino continue as a plumbing contractor in the great state of Connecticut.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a second by Melissa Sheffy. Do we have any further discussion? Having none, all in favor for allowing Mr. Covino to get back with his life and be a wonderful plumbing contractor for the state of Connecticut citizens, say aye.
Aye.
Deny? Unanimously done. Thank you, Mr. Covino, for coming in. Is there anything?
Thank you.
Attorney Fernandez, is there anything I should be doing for closing or anything, or are we all set?
No, yeah, I think we're all set. Just so Mr. Covino is aware, I'll put together just a letter saying that your reconsideration was granted. And I'll send it over to the chairman. And once that's signed off on, you'll be all set with this.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your help. I'm sorry to waste everybody's time, but I appreciate the help. Thank you.
And can he be able to renew?
Yes, yeah,
Because
there's
he
no
only got a
action on
few
his
days.
license at all.
He's got a few days, that's all. He just renew, make sure you renew. And,
I certainly will. I'll do that right away. I'll do that today, actually, today or tomorrow, for sure.
Right,
Okay.
and I'll reverse the civil penalty in the system so that you can renew without a problem.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for your help today. Thank you.
And
Not a
Mr.
problem.
Covino, I'll sign off on that right away for you as well.
Okay,
As soon as
thank you, sir.
Attorney Fernandez gets that to me, I'll turn that right around for you.
That's great. Thank you, everybody, for your help today.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, going on to new business, we have applications for review, starting with Kenneth Milligan.
Oh, one more question. Am I okay to leave now?
Well, unless you want to listen to us, Mr. Covino, you're always welcome to listen in on the board. It's a public meeting, so I'm glad you got a big smile on your face there. We just saw that. So that's good. So you
Yeah.
you can leave us now, or you
right.
can stay as long as we're here.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm Kenneth Milligan.
Good morning, Mr. Milligan. How are you, sir, today?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
We don't have to swear you in, so don't worry about that.
Okay.
So what are you in front of the board here for us today? You want to give us a little update?
I'm applying for my plumbing P2 application. I was never on the apprenticeship program, and I submitted the documents I had. I've done the schooling, and I submitted a notarized letter from my employer saying that I was on working with him, and I guess it needed to be reviewed since I wasn't on the actual apprenticeship program.
I see that you went to IMTI, you graduated with a 660 hours, which is the minimum requirement to sit for a P2 license back in 2009.
Yes, that's correct.
So for the last 14 years, are you saying that these individuals that you worked for didn't register you as an apprentice for on-the-job training?
I worked for 3 different companies, but I only submitted the one with Allstate Mechanical. I was under the impression, and so was he, was when we looked into it, because he received his apprenticeship, his plumbing license through an equivalence letter. And when I looked into it on the CT website and the application, it said apprenticeship program or an equivalence letter. So that's how I took it as. And eventually when I decided to go for my license, that I would just need a equivalence letter. I never really thought much of it after that.
You assisted many different plumbing jobs, bathroom installs, venting, water use, brazing, gas piping. What did you braze in the plumbing industry? Just curious.
At new installs, we did a lot of commercial properties, so hooking up water heaters, new bathroom installs. They worked in a lot of Merit View buildings where they were always switching out buildings, switching out offices and remodeling them. So we would have to move a lot of stuff there. We did I did a bunch of new residential installs. A lot of commercial, like I said.
Shows here that you do brazing. Were you soldering or were you brazing?
Soldering, yes.
Because if you braze, you would probably be doing medical gas piping systems, correct?
No, I have not done medical gas. No.
Okay. And you're not doing any HVAC work, or are you doing HVAC work? Are you registered now? I mean, are you working now?
Currently, no. I'm on medical leave. I've had a lot of health issues. That's why there's a lot of gaps in my time frame. You can see if you have the paperwork there. You can see I took a lot of breaks. I had a lot of medical issues that just wasn't foreseen, and it took a lot of energy out of me. I've gone through 2 brain surgeries. One, I'm recovering from my last one from March. They removed a brain tumor, and also a month after that, they removed a tumor in my cheek. And that's pretty much how it's been since I was 20. They took years for them to figure out what was going on with me. It took until like I was 28 for them to finally figure out why I was tired all the time, headaches. And after they took it out, and when I was 28 in 2018, I believe, it was like night and day. And that's when I started to focus more on getting my license, knowing that I had the hours and everything. And then COVID hit, and I believe I did submit my application once. COVID hit, and then I started getting tired again and losing energy, and I never received a final say on what happened with my application. So honestly, I never really looked into it because of COVID, and my health was going down again. And so I thought it got lost of me not pursuing it. And then in 2022, they found the tumor again, and it's just been pretty much healing. It's been a lot of downtime. So, but since they took it out, still recovering now, but I feel 100% better, and they're pretty confident they got it all this time. So now I'm just pretty much looking forward to the future and trying to focus on getting my license now. That's the plan. All the other years was the not knowing of what the outcome was going to be. I wasn't really too concerned about getting my license. When I was off the clock, I would pretty much just go home and sleep. And that went on for a good 15 years. And, hopefully now that I had this last surgery, the doctor is confident he got a good amount of it and it shouldn't come back. But I really won't know that until my next MRI in a few months.
Thanks, Ken, for that. You have 4 kids?
Yes, that's correct.
Can I ask a question?
Please, Melissa, thank you.
So, Ken, you've been through a lot. That seems like more than most people should ever have to do.
It's been rough.
Yeah, so I'm sorry to hear all that. I'm just very confused as to your employers not registering you as apprentices. So you've done your schooling,
Correct.
and in your schooling, you must have been notified that you have to be registered as an apprentice. So
Go ahead.
no, I'm curious. This is more about the people you've worked for that have not registered you, because they did you a huge disservice by not registering you.
The guy I worked for, he got his license through the having his old employer write a letter, and he's never, as long as I've worked with him, he's never had another employee. If he ever brought someone in, it was from someone else who he subbed them out if he needed extra help, and they were already licensed. And when I asked him about it at the time, he said, when the time comes, I have to write you a letter. And I looked into it after that, and on the website, it said apprenticeship program or an equivalence letter. And that's how I took it over the years. Every time I did look into it, and even when I applied for the application, it always said equivalent letter. So I just assumed I never saw anything that said it was mandatory. So that's where I just always took it as that. And when I was not, when I wasn't on the clock, working was actually a big relief, because I could focus on the work. It helped out a lot, because worrying all the time what's going on with me, what's going to be the outcome. And it was a big relief working, but as soon as the clock was off, I was off the clock, I just would shut down. I wouldn't really think about much after that. I'd go home, and like I said, I would pretty much sleep and rest and until they found it in 2008. But yeah, no, he was just under the impression that he had to write a letter. I not really, and then I didn't submit any of that, but I did work for Greco and Haynes and Foley's Pump Service, and same thing. They never put me on the apprenticeship program, but I never questioned it, because I was under the assumption when the time came, I just needed a letter.
Okay, so now I'm going to defer to Chuck, because you're the longest member of this board besides me. I joined the board, I think, in 2007, and since that time, it's been very clear what the requirements are. So I don't know how far back you've gone, Ken, and you're talking about the website and a letter will suffice, but I'm pretty sure that since 2007, since I've been on this board, that has not been the case. But Chuck, I'm going to ask you that. Is that the case, that we grandfather people before I joined?
Well, I believe we have Vinny on the line with us now too. Welcome, Vinny. I'm not sure if Vinny's had a chance to read this document from Mr. Milligan. He's got 15 years of health issues, unregistered. He's got the class time in from IMTI since 2009 completion with the 660 hours required for the P2, but no time registered as an apprentice, working for 3 or 4 different companies. He has been suffering for 15 years with health issues. I'm not sure how long you listened to this case for the last 15 minutes, Vinny, but the tumor had come back many times. I'll let Mr. Milligan talk about that. And he's on the course of health. He's hoping to have a clean MRI coming up. The board can make decisions outside, but I just want to see what Mr. Valenki's thoughts are, having been a director at the Department of Labor for apprenticeship training. Vinny, yeah, thanks.
Good morning, Vinny Valenti. I came in late to the conversation, so that's a disadvantage. But in a general sense, if we're talking about a multi-year process, and certainly sympathetic to health issues, but it's well known that you need to be registered, and health issues in general are not an excuse to me not to register. If you're progressing through a program, you should be getting progressive wage increases. You should be getting, the status as you're going, and so that's I'm going to abstain from weighing in. But in general purpose, no, I don't see blessing. And as far as grandfathering in or writing a letter, that is not, I think, the purpose when they discuss equivalent experience from somewhere else that does not have, the requirements that we have. And the requirements that we have is that you register as an apprentice, because you have W-2s, but the old saying is, we don't know if you were driving a truck. Were you doing the work processes that are involved in the trade? Was someone evaluating you? Were you teamed up with a mentor, or, were they putting you out in a truck by yourself? That's not a question. It's just that it leaves all these questions unanswered. Did anybody ever register you at all as a plumbing apprentice?
No, sir.
Aren't you aware that you needed to be registered to become licensed?
I told you, I mentioned it earlier, that on the website, even today, it says on the application, an equivalence letter. And that's how I always took it over the years when I looked into it.
No, that is not for working in the state of Connecticut.
And I never saw anything that said that, or I would have been on top of that. Even when I applied, because I applied when I first applied a couple years ago, it was all written. And then when I applied this time on it was online, and it even said, there was a question I couldn't get past.
Well, you applied a couple of years ago to take a license, and you must have been told at that time you didn't have registered time, and then you didn't take any actions to get registered at that time either. You're cognizant.
No, I never received anything to say what happened with my case, and I assumed with COVID that it got lost and me not following up on it, and I really just never followed into it. But I never received anything saying I was denied, or I would have went right on the apprenticeship program right then. That was my thing of applying this time, and then I was told that I already applied and it did go through the system. So I was wondering why I never received anything to say that I was denied.
Did you check on the DCP website for the status of your application?
No, sir. I didn't know I could do all that. I applied through it was a paper application, and I guess you guys switched over to online now. And when I was applying online, I just put my name in, and I was like, oh, it was submitted at one point, and I was denied. And I was wondering why I never received anything to tell me I was denied. And I honestly just assumed with COVID, a lot of things got screwed up.
You mentioned you worked for several different contractors.
Yes, my main one was Allstate Mechanical, but in between breaks, I didn't want to keep going back to him because, I was lucky enough that he would take me back every time, but I wanted to try something else. So I went to Greco and Haynes, and I was working there for a little less than a year. And then I went to, recently, I worked for Foley's for about 7 months. And again, my health started to decline. The hours were just too long, and I was just getting exhausted. So I ended up moving over to a company where I worked. It was closer to home, but it wasn't plumbing. So that doesn't really relate to this. It was a pay cut and everything, but it was just closer to home, and I got out earlier, so I took that for the time being. And then in the last couple months, I've just been out of work with healing up.
We have Peter Alfieri wants to make a comment, and I do know, I want to share, the only pathway to licensure in Connecticut is through an apprenticeship. So that's my say. Peter, I know you've got a comment you want to make.
Yeah, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As long as I've been 10 years on this board, and I have never heard of a letter instead of an apprenticeship, registered apprenticeship. I feel bad for your health issues. I wish you the best of luck, but that's not the point we're making right here. We've always granted licenses when a person completed the proper apprenticeship training, meaning registered apprentice with the OJT work hours plus schooling, and then they were granted a sit down for the test.
It does not.
I don't think we can do. I don't think we can make any other decision unless we check with counsel, because I don't feel comfortable doing that.
I understand. It just again, it says that on the Connecticut website, equivalence letter. I saw nothing that said it had mandatory must be on. If applying for a Connecticut license, you must be on an apprenticeship program. And that is my fault for not understanding it. But even when I applied for the application, I emailed. Recently there was a question that I could not get past because it said, "Are you applying with an equivalence letter?" And it said out of state. And I emailed the Karen Lehman, and I said, "I can't get past this one question. I'm not applying through out of state. I'm applying with an equivalence letter, and I live in Connecticut." And she changed the question so I can get past it and pay the fee. So another reason why I just assumed that it was all the right way. I have those emails, so I don't understand why she would change that question if I couldn't get past it.
That sentence probably meant equivalent letter probably pertains to licensed plumbers in other states.
Yeah. Yes.
Possibly.
No. She did say that,
No.
but I said I'm not applying from out of state, and the question changed so I can get past it.
So the registered apprenticeship had to be the one that applies to you.
The equivalency is for an out-of-state license where you've
Right.
achieved a credential from another state that's equivalent, and then that would have to be reviewed because that state may or may not have the same education requirements, or it might be a limited license versus an unlimited license. So that would require review, but you would have to be in possession of that credential from another issuing agency. When you want to get a license in Connecticut, working in Connecticut, you have to register as an apprentice. Now, health is important. I got that. But the idea that you applied a couple of years ago, were denied, that you've been to the IMTI school, and you're in a room with people that are registered, and I would hope the instructor would, ensure that that's part of the conversation, that in order to get this credential. But this idea that you can just take some letters from an employer and everything is good, that's not the method. You have to register and track these on-the-job training hours in the right work processes.
Yeah, I understand that now. Again, like I said, it was.
Well, no, you understood that a couple of years ago too.
No, I didn't. I understood it. I understand it now. I did not understand it a couple years ago when I was denied. I was not told I was denied until I reapplied, and I realized through the email I received from Karen Lehman I was denied. Again, I told you I thought it got just lost in me never following up on it because I didn't follow through with it, and with COVID.
When did you start working in the trade?
In 2008.
All right, so it's been 15 years.
Yes.
And how did you get raises and say I want to progress and get paid on this particular level?
With the employer I was with, he gave me raises every 6 months, and I was making good money, so I just never questioned it. He was taking care of me, and the reason why I stuck with him was because every time I left because of my health and would come back, he would just take me right back. I always
But
worked under him.
in 15 years, you know, with your health concerns, you know, and at some point you accumulated what you must have figured were the 8,000 hours of OJT, and that you knew you need to be licensed. So, you know, what, at some point you hit that 4-year mark, and it must have dawned on you, I need a license to apply this trade. And you should have been applying back in the mid 2010s.
I didn't know I didn't know it was mandatory to go for it. With my health, I wasn't concerned
No,
about it.
mandatory to have a license as a journey worker or be registered as an apprentice. If you're starting in 2008, and I'm not asking anything about your health history, but at some point within 4 or 5 or 6 years, I believe you would have accumulated the 8,000 hours, and you would have said, I need to get a license, and you didn't even apply for a license back then.
Because
you just continue to work basically under your own program. You know, is that you know, the plumbers around you have licenses? You know?
Yes.
All right. Well, did you think you needed one?
I always worked under the same guy. I never worked alone. So I was always his helper, working on the same job with him. And I always had raises. I was happy where I was at. And he mentioned a couple times, he's like, you know, you can go for your license now. And with my health, I just didn't want to. When I got home, I shut my brain off, and I went to bed and would sleep 15 hours at a time. It took a good 10 years before the doctors found out exactly why and what was going on with me. And as soon as they took that out, it was like night and day. And that's why after my first surgery, you did
take care of the other things in life. You paid your utility bills, you paid your rent, you renewed your driver's license, right?
I was being paid well, so of course I had to take care of that stuff.
Right. Well, this is also something you had to take care of.
But I wasn't aware that I had to be under an apprenticeship program. That's where I'm wrong at.
Or licensed, you know.
But I didn't know I had to be licensed. I thought I had to be licensed in order to go off on my own.
No.
All right, Peter, you want to? I got your hand up again, Peter.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make a motion to deny due to the fact of not being registered apprentice.
I'd like to second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion by board
Yes,
members?
I'd like to have Trade Practices look into the 3 companies you listed, because this is on them too.
I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble here.
I know you're not, and you know what? Honestly, these companies understand the laws of the state of Connecticut. They do.
The employer I worked for the longest had again, I was his only employee, and when I talked to him, he said, I received this is how you got to do it, and that's what under the assumption he was. And when I looked into it myself to make sure, that's what it said on the CT website, was an equivalence letter, and that's how I always took it as.
They did you a grave disservice, and I personally believe you misunderstood the wording on the website for that. There was the equivalent experience, never a letter, was how the wording
it said
was.
Letter. I'm positive it said
I'd
letter.
like to see the document that says a letter.
It's the CT website. Even when I applied I got the email. Even when I applied for the application, it said equivalence letter, and I emailed Karen Lehman, and she said that's for applying out of state. And I said, I'm not applying from out of state. I'm already in Connecticut. And she changed the question. So I took that as, okay.
Yeah, well,
So
I would love to see that. You know what? I'm going to look it
email.
up and check, but I believe you're mistaken, and I will certainly look into that. But
you
it has
guys
nothing to do with a letter in state.
We have a motion right now on the floor. We're in discussion. John Mesner has a question, followed by Joe Policia. Good morning, Mr. Mesner.
Sorry, I had to join from my phone also because my audio was also giving me issues this morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do, John. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to clarify for the applicant here that, again, as it's been stated several times, yes, Aaron the applicant is correct. It does state to provide a notarized letter. Like several of the board members have instructed you, though, that is for individuals coming in out of state that need to justify their experience to having met that equivalency. Again, just to clarify on the behalf of the department, the only pathway to a license in the state of Connecticut, an occupational trade, is going to be through an apprenticeship. And unfortunately, your employers did not enter you into an apprenticeship. Therefore, again, your experience in the trade does not count.
No,
And that is also portrayed on our website, that in-state experience that is unregistered does not count towards your on-the-job training experience.
I never saw that, or believe me, I would have been on top of that.
Joe Pulicia, please.
Regardless of the outcome of this particular issue, I think the language on the website, I just pulled it up, and it can be somewhat confusing it does mention out-of-state completion certificate as item number 3. Number 1 is transcript and degrees. Number 2 is notarized letters from current or previous employers. So I don't know if that could be clarified so that we don't have this issue come up in the future. My question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Pulicia.
Again, that was just the assumption I was under from reading that.
Okay, so we do have a motion, seconded discussion. I've got some things here. We have 3 names that were brought up, Allstate Mechanical here. There is Greco and Haynes and Foley Pump. And these 3 companies know to register an apprentice. These are well-known companies within the state of Connecticut. I'd like to see that discussion over to trade practice. As Melissa Sheffy had mentioned earlier, have someone stop in their offices and see what's going on, and see how many people are licensed and registered properly within the state of Connecticut, if possible. Is there anybody? Oh, Joe, you have your hand up again, please.
That's an error. My question has been answered, Mr. Chairman.
Chuck, is that part of the motion?
Yeah, it is. I think it should be sent to trade practice. Obviously, this is, Ken's been held back all these years, and he wants to get back with his life. So he's gonna go find a job where somebody's gonna register him. And but that's not part of the motion.
It's very, very unfortunate. And, if you are running your own business and, you may be able to hire somebody with a P1 and apprentice under him.
Thank you, Mr. Nakbar. Mr. Valenti, do you have the comments?
Mr. Milligan,
Yes, sir.
you have a pencil?
Yeah, I can write something down.
All right, write down the term CT apprenticeship. CT for Connecticut and the word apprenticeship.
Yep.
That's the DOL apprenticeship website. On that website, you'll find a list of sponsors. So you're looking for the sponsor list or list of sponsors. And in that list are people that have had an apprentice in the past or have one now. That's how they get on that list. They sponsor people. You can filter it by trade and by town. I recommend is that you find a bona fide employer or program that will register you. Now you can go in there and negotiate a wage while you're being registered, right? Because I gotta imagine, having been in this industry for 30 years, that you have been paid maybe not always to your level of experience, right? Because they got to, you say you're paying you good. I'm not going to say what's good pay or not pay, but if you at least go and find a sponsor that will register you, they can pay you $100 an hour, or they can pay you minimum wage, right?
Yes,
You'll
sir.
get what you're worth and start running the clock on your time and get your license. Because all these things aside, you're looking at a 20-year window to get a credential that I believe you need, right?
The CT website
No,
I
no,
should
don't
know about
go
a
back to the
website.
CT website and the letter, because if you did that much research,
I did.
you would understand that a license is important. And you would have done this almost 10 years ago.
I
Okay,
disagree.
so what I'm going to recommend is you go to that website, find a sponsor that will register you so you can stay in the industry, take that pressure off of you that you're feeling right now. I know that. Get a wage that's appropriate, right? And now you're on the path to your goal. You want to achieve this goal. So this is going to help you set it. I would, I would like to see you get this as soon as possible, but you got to go through the process that the thousands of other people have done. All right. It's not that you're being made an exception to any rule. Thousands and thousands of people do this every year. All right. That's the group that you have to join. All this stuff you've been doing on your own and these stories you've been listening to, you've had enough information to tell you otherwise. So please don't refer to anything about a blurb on a website, because I don't buy into that.
Well, I
Go
disagree
to
with
the
that.
website with the DOL, find a sponsor, get registered. All right. And then within a few years, you'll be approaching that point where you're going to be taking your license. You've already done your schooling, right? You knew to do that, but you got to get registered and then you negotiate your wage, right? Because I don't think it's going to be plus or minus different than when you're getting now. All right. And you get that mechanic's credential. It makes you much more versatile, marketable. You can go to any contractor you like. But the first thing you got to do is find someone that will treat you respectfully, right? Because all this time, everybody has been disrespecting the process, right? This is not a law that we made up as a board. This is a law that it's our job to help people follow, right?
I understand that, and that's how I
So
took
this
it
is
over
how
the
you
years.
do it. I don't see any other path for you.
I understand. Thank
I'm
you.
gonna just give it to you straight. You need to get registered as an apprentice, clock them hours in a legitimate manner, like the thousands of us that have gotten these licenses. We want you to join us. And the other thing too, as far as these folks and you're concerned, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Whatever they did with you, they'll do with someone else. Right? And do you want anybody else to go through this experience? I don't think so.
I'll be honest, I blame myself, because the employer I had that always took me back was just that's how he said it under when I was told. And when I looked into it, we both looked into it. It was on the CT website. Like
you're looking into it 15 years later.
I'm just telling you, it always said equivalence letter. And to me, I thought the apprenticeship program was to protect my rights, for me to be on to protect my rights, but I was always being paid and had increases in pay. And the convenience of it was when I left, he always took me back and always paid me well, and I always worked under him. And that's why I never questioned it. The only other times I went to another company was
now
just
listen,
because,
hold up. I've heard all this. It's also, yes, to protect the apprentice, but also the consumer that's using these services, right? The homes that we go into, the businesses that we service. These are the other regulations.
Okay.
It's not only us that we're concerned about, right?
No, I
It's a
understand.
profession. If you were an accountant or any other profession, you would follow the protocols of that profession. And that's the thing that you're having a hard time understanding.
I don't understand. I was reading what it said on the website. That's the only thing I don't understand. And it even confuses me more when I wrote an email to the Karen Lehman and she changed the question so I can get past it, which
Wow.
kind of feel discouraged, because why would you change the question so I can get past it and then pay another application?
You were more than a decade down the road before you asked that question. So you had a lot of time.
I'm sorry, but a lot of people weren't in my position where I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking about if I was going to survive or not, sir. And that was my, as soon as I was off the clock.
Wait a minute, please. Again, we are sympathetic to your situation.
And I understand that. I'm not using that to get ahead. I honestly, it's if you're wondering why I didn't keep looking into it, I was under the assumption from what the website said was an equivalence letter. So I knew at the time, whenever I decided to go for it, I just needed to get that letter from my employers. And that's how I took it at. And I did that as soon as I got through my first surgery. I got that because I was finally in a place where I felt better. This was going on since I was a kid, so, and which no one knew. And I wasn't focused except for when I was at work, and that work was a big relief because it took my mind off things. But like I said, as soon as I was off the clock, wasn't thinking about anything else. Wasn't thinking about when I was getting my license. I didn't care for it. If I can't, too many people were in my shoes, the pain I was going through, it wasn't a concern of mine. And that's why after this surgery,
Melissa
it
has
just
a
cleared my
question.
head. Yes, go ahead.
Melissa has a question.
It's not a question, it's a comment. So I understand where this happened, how this happened, and I'm sorry that it happened to you with a big giant misunderstanding.
And
But
I'm
as
not looking
Vinny
for,
said,
sympathy or anything. It's just that I just wanted to make it clear that just from reading that website, that's just how I took it. And I just never really thought much of it after that. That
Okay.
was it.
So my point is, make sure that when you find a company, as Vinny directed you to do on a sponsor company, make sure you receive the card in the mail. Because if
Yes,
you
ma'am.
don't get that card in the mail, you are not registered. So
No,
someone can
I
tell you that they're
understand that now.
registering you, but they may not. So
No, I
protect
understand that now.
yourself. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thanks.
The only one concern I have though is I 2 years ago I would have been put on the apprenticeship program, would have signed up for it, but I never received any letter, nothing telling me that I was denied, and that's a big, I don't understand why I wouldn't have received that, an email, something saying I was denied, and I didn't know I was supposed to go into the state to look up a license application. I didn't know that was possible.
Okay, so now you know, and now we've given you the tools in the pathway to figure it out.
But how come I didn't receive that letter when I was denied the first time? That's what I want to know.
That's up to the DCP. I don't have an answer for that.
Okay. No, because I wouldn't apply it again. I honestly wouldn't apply it again if I knew I was denied.
It's up to your employer to put you in there. I'm sorry, Chuck. It was up to your employer.
Thank you. Yep.
I don't believe you'll get a letter telling you you need to sign up for an apprenticeship. You need to be your own advocate, and in your situation, you probably weren't aware, and your employees I'll say it again, did you a grave disservice by not bringing you in. It cost you a lot of time and aggravation. And an unfortunate misunderstanding.
I had bigger aggravations than that, so.
Yeah, well, it's very unfortunate that they didn't.
No, I know, and again, I'm not using all this to, it's not like, oh, I knew I wasn't supposed to be on the apprenticeship program, let me use my health as an excuse. That's not it at all. I really was under the assumption from the website.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying your employers are, in my opinion, gravely at fault for not following up as you're an asset to them. You were an employee. You needed to be put into the system to be compliant for them as business operators. So they were in violation, not putting you in to the apprentice program. You won't get a letter that's going to tell you that you need to get into the apprentice program. That should have been something
about that.
your employer would have done for you. So it's not your fault either,
No, go ahead.
Let's we have a motion and a second.
Yeah, Mr. Pember had a quick question. Are you satisfied, Mr.?
Yeah, no, I think it was just covered. So we're good.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second to deny this application. And I put an addendum in there that the three companies receive a letter from the department or a personal visit to their storefronts to discuss the operations going forward due to Ken's problems here. We don't want this to continue with other individuals. Obviously, it's happening. So I think it's worth the visit. Is everybody okay with a second on that? Peter, did you second that motion?
I made the motion, Chuck.
You made the motion, so.
I second the amended motion.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? All in favor of denying Ken's application for a P2 license with the visits from trade practice to the companies in question, say aye.
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 Deny? All in favor? Thank you for that. Okay, Ken, so going forward, you You've got
Mr.
the
Chairman?
tools you need. Yes,
If you would just put me down as abstaining because I entered the conversation midstream. So I'm a non-vote.
okay, thank you, sir.
I'm an abstention.
Thank you. We still have a quorum, so it still passes. Thank you, sir.
So,
Okay, so Ken, you've got the tools Mr. Valenti laid out for you.
yes, sir.
Go get your health back 100%. We hope everything goes well with you and get a job, get yourself registered. Just because you're in your situation doesn't mean they can't financially square you up with what you deserve to. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so we now have a Dylan Wakis. Do we have a Dylan Wakis still in the room? In the chat here. There he is. Okay, Dylan, we have you. Dylan, you are, what I see here, applying for a P7. Can you give us some sort of an idea why you're in front of us, sir?
Yes, sir. I understand I have a unusual resume. I've been in the industry for about 10, 11 years, mainly as a superintendent and then into a project management position. And then the past couple of years, I've actually been as a project management type foreman and out of state in the state of Massachusetts. So I submitted my application to try to get an equivalency with my experience as both a superintendent, doing a lot of work up at UConn, which required water line bypassing, reclaimed water bypassing, sewer bypassing, storm bypassing, as well as my project management, where I coordinated with the towns with inspections and scheduled subcontractors to do taps, pressure tests, sanitation testing. And then for the past few years, I've been actually approved by the towns that I worked in Massachusetts to do this work and been doing it up in Mass.
Do you currently hold a P6 license before you carry
I do not.
P7?
I do not.
You have a Bachelor of Science degree from Central Connecticut State University. Can you talk to us a little bit about that degree with that our state college there?
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree with construction management through Central. I believe most of those classes coincide with the requirements as the P6 license requires for classes. I do owe my OSHA 30 certification, which I got through that bachelor's of science degree. I've taken a couple MEP classes that not only count plumbing, but also mechanical work. They're larger in hours, but encompass more stuff, as well as code related items. It's got business classes associated with it, stats, applied calculus classes for the math, blueprint reading, construction management portions as well through that program. It's a 4-year full-time degree.
Congratulations on that degree. I also see that you have done work with ductile iron. You've obviously tapped water mains.
Yes, I've overseen it for majority of my career as a superintendent in overseeing the installer.
Yeah, have you ever physically tapped a water main yourself?
The larger taps we normally sub out to a tapping company, whether it's like EJ Prescott or there's some companies out in New Hampshire that did our taps in Massachusetts. I have done a smaller, like 1-inch tap in Massachusetts to incorporate it.
The answer is yes. I have tapped a water main.
Yes.
That's what I was asking.
Yes.
Very good. This degree is incredible. You got the construction piece. You got a Bachelor of Science in Construction Engineering. You got all the stuff that we've requested in past meetings. Any board members have any question about just? I think he meets the criteria. Two people raising their hands. We got Peter Alfieri.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. You did not have a P6 license?
No, I have not, because in the state of Connecticut, I was only a manager and a superintendent. I didn't actually perform the work. It was done by someone underneath me that I coordinated the work with.
Well, the
But in
requirement to sit for the P7, you have to hold a P6 for 2 years. And if you don't have a P6 for 2 years, I don't see where we can make that exception. I don't. Everybody else follows the same rule prior to getting their contractor license.
Understand, and the reason why I submitted for the P7 was I am licensed. Massachusetts doesn't have a statewide license like Connecticut does. It goes town by town, and the towns that I've worked in, I'm licensed to be a P7 scope of work, pull the permit, and be the contractor of record.
Yeah, thank you. Vinny, do you want to share?
I see your transcript, and to me, you would qualify as a CAD draftsperson, because to put it simply, an electrical engineer does not an electrician make, if you can pull the analogy. And your hands-on experience, you're talking about mainly being a supervisor, versus someone that works in the field that's done the work for a 2-year basis. So the degree is great, but I don't see the courses that the apprenticeship, the trade math, the backflow prevention, the drain waste and vent, basic core courses that you would do with something like this, trenching, excavation, safety, on and on. So you say you have the equivalent licenses in another state, correct?
It's more of a certification. They, in the state of Massachusetts, doesn't have a statewide license for this limited license. It's a town and basis. They review your certification, your history, what you've done in the past, and then they either approve and deny you from there. Because this work is all underground outside of the foundation scope, they don't have a master plumbing license like Connecticut does for that work.
Is there any, Melissa, I'll get to you just 1 second. Is there anything that, I do see he's got math credits in his resume, Central Connecticut. He does have the algebra, which is in right, Vinny, we're basic math, right? We don't have algebra in the plumbing trade, but he did get math.
But we do, Chuck. 141 is a nice tangent that we use. But that being said, my point more is the degree is outstanding, but it is not a plumbing track. An electrical engineer does not an electrician make, is the analogy I use, because that person might be very well versed in the theory of things, but hasn't done the practical wiring, to use a different example.
See, this is why I was asking him to see if he ever tapped a main out in the street. I know we've had people before that we've sent to CEC for additional classroom experience. But Melissa, you have your hand up.
I just want to say that I love the fact that you have gone this path and that you are really interested in becoming a skilled tradesperson. I am on the board of CCSU's IAB, so I am very familiar with the curriculum. I like the fact that you went through the program and that you want to be a super, and now you want to be a plumber to some degree. But I do have to agree with Vinny, is that I would suggest that you go through is there an apprenticeship for a P6 to my board members? Because I think you need to be a P6 first.
Yes.
And you could follow the same path that Vinny had given the other gentleman, is to go on the website. If your company can't provide you with that apprenticeship for a P6, hopefully they can, but you have to go through the proper channels. Vinny's analogy is a great one. You could be an MEP engineer and have all those classes, but unless you have the actual classroom and training for the P6, I don't think that that's, you have great experience. I hope you stay in the industry. You're young. I hope you continue down this path because plumbers need you. But it's apples and oranges.
Peter.
I have no problem with trying to take the other classes that are associated with the exam. If you guys don't believe they are comparable from Central, would any of my experience out of state be counted towards my apprenticeship?
Well, it might be. I didn't see that you provided that with the list of documents that we got. But
So
by the same token, you still need to be registered with the DOL. We could evaluate that and maybe, I'm not going to speak for the board, but possibly evaluate your classes, your credits, and your out-of-state certification. But you still need to go through registering as a P6.
Well, you need to hold the P6 license for 2 years
Right.
prior to applying for the P7.
Right, but the start is to get registered and
Yes,
start
correct.
doing the P6
Right.
work.
Correct.
Got to be apprenticed. Yep. Does any more board members have any questions for Dylan here?
I just wanted to note that if Dylan had evidence of an equivalent licensure, then I think we could be able to consider something. But it doesn't sound like it's at all equivalent to our process.
It's not equivalent. It's more of the experience is what I was going for on it.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility for me registering as an apprentice and taking my experience and not having to sit for the 2 years as a registered apprentice in Connecticut and being allowed to take my P6? Is that it?
Are you working for a company right now in Connecticut that it has is an active sponsor with the Department of Labor, which again you could look up yourself? You currently working for a company now that has that opportunity?
I'm currently working for a company that has several P7s under that do the work in Connecticut. I live closer to Massachusetts. We had an opportunity to get some jobs in Massachusetts, so I went after the work in Massachusetts and got that work. I would have to be looking to get registered in Connecticut to do the work in Connecticut. I'm strictly I coordinate all the subcontractors, the testing, the bacterial, the tapping companies that we use for the jobs in Connecticut. I'm going to say the hands-on guy.
Dylan, you're in pretty good shape. You've got a company, as you just said, that holds a lot of P7s. So there's plenty of room for a P6 apprenticeship under that company. So what I would do is, as soon as you get off the phone with us here, get right onto your boss and say, hey, get me registered through the DOL right away. Get on the program, and within 2 years you'll be sitting for your P6. They'll make sure you get the classroom-related instructions versus what you have for college credits. Vinny Valenti.
Dylan, I'll remind you too, it's not a matter of signing up and running a clock. You got to get your hands in there and do the work to understand, because most of your experience is supervisory. You're a very competent person. You're a very well-educated person, but you got to get your hands in there and do the work and join the crews to get these OJT hours. And you'll find that at the end of that process, you'll be 10 times stronger, because that's the catalyst of it all. You have a great knowledge base. You have extraordinary related instruction. But the hands-on experience is what fuses it all together. And I'll just remind you that it's not a matter of running a clock, but getting in and doing the work and understanding it and being as well-rounded as possible. Because once you become a P7, you're a contractor, right? And you'll be either supervising or employing people doing the same work. And that's where your strength will lie, right? So, I mean, get in there and literally get dirty and have some fun, because it is fun work, So, get yourself out there with the other people that are with you. And I know you'll succeed. You know, it's just, this is the proper process to go through. Thank you.
Understand. That's what I've been doing the last few years in Mass, and I just was hoping that some of that on the ground training and doing that work in Massachusetts would have counted towards either apprenticeship hours to allow me to take my P7 or P6.
Okay. All right. So appreciate you coming in, Dylan. You have a pathway now. Do we have anyone to make a motion on the denial of the P7?
I can do that. Make a motion to deny the P7 application.
Can second that motion.
Have a second. Any further discussion by board members? Okay, all in favor of denying Dylan Whitekiss P7 application, say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Okay, so Joe, did you, Joe Police, we didn't hear you. Did you say?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, very good. The ayes have it. Okay, Dylan, good luck to you. Keep going, get things done, get signed up. And hopefully we'll see you within a couple years here, okay?
Appreciate you guys' time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can we take a 5-minute break, board members? It's 10:36. I'd like to see everybody get back here at 10:45 if possible. That good?
Got it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that works.
Good to see you back, Mr. President.
Same to you, Mr. President. Nice to see you today. How's things going?
You did good, Pete. Really
Good.
good. Yeah,
Good.
we're busy.
That's great. Good for you.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. Glad to see Ford got the strike taken care of yesterday because Brendan's truck is coming in a couple months. So not even it's here, but we got it finally painted for a nice bow for Christmas on it.
What's that, Chuck? I didn't hear everything you said.
It's been hard to get those trucks out of. Oh, the trucks, trying to get them out of the Kentucky plant. It's been crazy for plumbers, and electricians,
yeah.
the construction. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Just wait a few more minutes here and we'll get things rolling as people come back. If you guys do get back, just show us your face so I know you're back. We can continue on the meeting. We should be close to the end at this point anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah, turning all the beach cottages off. Everybody said, Chuck, geez, it's going to be 70 this weekend or whatever. You got to keep it on for me another week.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna snap and be 20 and they'll be screaming at you because everything froze.
Yeah. I said, well, you're on the list. It's your game, your house. Let me know. We usually we start the cottages right after Labor Day when people are no longer using the house. The kids are all in college or they're off. The grandparents are getting ready to leave in October, 1st of October for Florida for the winter. So we turn those all off, ahead of time. So I can knock off a lot of them. So I can, accommodate a lot of people if they want to keep open a little longer,
Yeah.
During COVID, we were keeping some of the houses on until almost Christmas. It was crazy. The water companies allowed people because the kids were taken out of schools in New York. They were brought back here, needed a place to put the kids, for the time being. If there wasn't home, room back at the home, or it was crazy how they were very accounting. You didn't know there were summer cottages, but they allowed them to at least, have the water on for say 10 months out of the year, versus the 12.
They were lucky they didn't freeze.
Yeah, well, we had a few of them.
I'm sure you did.
Especially the outdoor showers right on the water.
I'm sure you did.
Okay, so we got Aaron, Peter, Joe, myself. So I think we could probably start the meeting up again. Melissa, we'll wait for her and Carlton, Chip to come back. Vinny, okay, well, we have Chip. We're good. We'll just give Vinny a few more minutes here and Joe Policia another minute or two here.
Well, I think we made Andrew's day.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure what's going on with my camera, but I am here.
Thanks,
So
Joe.
let's hear.
Okay. We got John Mesner back. Okay, that's good. We have Todd Birch here. Hi, Todd. Okay. All right, Melissa, you out there? All right, I'll start with begin with old business, and The old business is CE for the plumbing industry. So we're really close. We're within a week or two of the final draft for the board to review. So I'd like to have everybody, if it's okay, middle of November here, first, second week, probably closer to the second week of November, I'll call an emergency meeting. Quickly, we'll send out a draft for board members to review for the continuing education for plumbers. I believe, Aaron, you guys are all set with the J1, J2 with the program. I think you guys are good to go for this round coming up. Okay,
Yep,
great.
working on it.
Great. If anybody has any questions on that, let me know. Again, we've got 2 years of business law that we're bringing to the table this year. Obviously, the last of COVID coming in, the code changes, amendments, stuff like that as well. We're going to bring everybody up to date with the latest and the greatest from the legislature in reference to contractors and fines and insurance requirements, all sorts of stuff there. Okay. Is there anything else under new business or old business? I'm sorry. John Mesner, please.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I thought you were moving to new business. I have a new business item.
Okay, we're done with old business, so we'll take new business. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a member of the public. I don't know if there's a forum to speak. I'm not on the clock for the state of Connecticut, just as a P1 holder to address this. Is it appropriate or not?
Yes, everybody's welcome to the meeting, Todd. Sure.
I was wondering if the board has considered by any means, and again, I'm calling as a private citizen, not as a director of apprenticeship, nor as an employee of the Department of Labor at this time. Has there been any call for integrating 5 hours of safety training as part of the continuing education to concur with the law stating that all P1s, for that matter, and P2s, and the rest that are licensed under this statute, to comply with the 5-year safety, because it's not stated as OSHA, but it's as a safety mechanism every 5 years. Has the board considered any of that conversation?
Yes, we are. In fact, Mr. Pember this week and myself have put together as a training instructor. I'll let Mr. Pember talk about his own credentials, but we have put together a small package for this 5-hour requirement for everything. But Mr. Pember, if you want to share, you can.
Yeah, we've put together some OSHA regulations and some different things where we see in the state that there's been problems in either trenching or with cranes and different accidents in the state, things that we're looking to protect all trades, but the plumbing industry, definitely. We're in trenches a lot. We're in confined space. We're dealing with cranes. So those kinds of things are going to be in there. I was a trainer for OSHA just recently. So I have all that information, and we're in the process of putting that all together.
Mr. Pember, I appreciate that. I understand the content and the validity of everything that you pose. That's not the question that I am asking, actually. I think that a 5-hour ancillary course outside of continuing education is punitive to any license holder, as they'd rather be working than sitting in a class, not to diminish the safety whatsoever. I just think that they are redundant courses and can be incorporated into a continuing education as opposed to yet another course mandated by state law. That's what I'm asking the board to consider.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Birch? No, I'm not sure if people can talk. I've got people on mute, so I'm not sure if everybody heard me or not. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Birch?
Doing a hell of a job, Todd.
Appreciate that. Again, here as a private citizen, P1 holder, have heard from my peers that having an additional course and, the misnomer and myth that it has to be another OSHA course has been, again, punitive, has not been defined accurately. And it has been a suggestion to bring this forward in any form that I'm at, to incorporate that into continuing education. So again, I appreciate the board's indulgent and look forward to hopefully the board rectifying this situation. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. Appreciate
And
it.
just so everybody knows, it seems like it was only on state jobs that they were requiring the 5 years or less on the OSHA. Now it's a general contractor or construction manager requirements. Some do, some don't. Some jobs we go on, they don't care if you have an OSHA 10 or 30. Other jobs, like I said, they require OSHA 10 under 5 years. Some just want to have an OSHA 10. They don't care how old it is. So I wish they would come up with some kind of uniform way of doing it so the guys would know, but.
Well, I think this
Thanks-
is opening up, yeah. Peter and Todd, this is, and Chip, I think this is a good starting point to discuss this. This is something to take into consideration for sure.
Yep.
But again, I don't wish to speak for the Department of Consumer Protection. Is their statute does not state OSHA. It says a safety course within 5 years, not a OSHA safety course. So it is only, again, Mr. Alfieri is absolutely correct. It is required only for public work jobs at this point in time per statute.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anything else under what we were discussing, new business? John Mesner, please. I'm sorry.
All right. Good morning, board. So I just wanted to bring for the board's opinion on, as you're all aware, back in June, we had the exam reviews going on. We just actually wrapped up another round of exam reviews for some of those that had to be continued. With that being said, this question is coming up for relevant to chapter 482, which is well drilling. While going through candidate bulletins, it was noted that the W1, W2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are closed book, while the newly created W7, 8, 9, and 10 that were just added to regulation are open book. I went back, reviewed the statute, reviewed the regulations, and even consulted with former director Richard Hurlbert to see if there was any reason as to why these books were, or these exams, excuse me, were closed book during their creation and not open book, and why it wasn't all on the same page. And he just said that's why, the way it always was. There was no reason why, there was no intent. So just bring it to the board's opinion. If the board was good with me making the change to have all those exams, W1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, changed to reflect the same as the 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that would make all the exams in the well drilling category under chapter 42 open book examinations.
I have no problem.
I think that would be a good idea.
I agree.
Okay.
What is the advantage of them being an open book exam for the welder? There was the W1. I thought, well, maybe I'm wrong. I thought we had a book for, we were allowed to have a book for the business law portion.
For the business law, correct, but for the actual trade portion, it's a closed book examination.
I don't know what else.
I see to that, Aaron, would be being able to ask more detailed questions. So that would again be a topic area that we will then take to an exam review. And those questions could then be reviewed and potentially asking more detailed questions on the examination that would require their knowledge to know where and what reference to go back to in order to select the correct answer.
Well, I guess it does teach a skill about how to use a book. Because some of them, it's not going to be a thing. So I guess I have no particular reservation.
Okay.
And my credentials that I currently carry in Connecticut, all the classes, the testing that I had to do, especially say building officials through the OEDM, 12 code books to get your 11 code books that we had to review and test knowledge on was open book for that exam. The fire marshal class for the code section is also an open book. So you'll have to go in and find the answer to the question that's being asked. So I think that's important, John, when you are working with the PSI people, if you could make sure, like you said, that the guidance document with the proper books or regulations are in there, especially like the W7 with all the regulations and stuff like that. They don't come in a book. The state regulations, you have to download that document and carry that in with you to that site to review. So I think that's something we should talk to PSI as well. But again, during that review for the code book, I think that's a great idea. So we can meet the other license categories as well, just like electrical and
excellent.
Sprinklers, everything, all the trades.
I appreciate it, and you know, coming up in the future, what I would anticipate doing is having an exam review on this particular category, so we could go through, look at the references, and make the modifications similar to what we did back in June. So, but I appreciate the board's time. Thank you.
Sign me up for that. I'm sure Aaron would love to be involved in that too.
Oh yeah,
Of course. I wouldn't miss that one. That sounds like fun. I'll have more fun than I did on the last one. Although I did learn a lot about plumbing code. Maybe you might consider letting me sit for my P2. I don't know if you might consider that. Although I'm not registered with the labor board, so never mind.
You were very important sitting there for those questions.
It was very interesting. So,
and I want to thank the board members for making that time available to John and the department to do that, because I know that took days of your schedules. And I believe me, for the past 22 years that I've served this board, having to take that time off of work, it was a lot, small business and what have you. So thanks guys for doing that, because you really took time from your cost you money. I know that, and I appreciate it.
Yep. And again,
Hey,
on
do we
behalf
need
of the
to vote?
department, thank you.
John, do we need to vote on this, since we seem like we have a pretty good, is that just, we can just get it done? It's now going to be open book?
Yep, it could just be done. I don't need a vote.
Great.
This was more so just an opinion of the board if anybody had any objections to doing such.
although I do,
Again, thank you.
I love Rich's answer.
He had a lot of good answers.
Hey, here's another thing. As we start to roll out the geothermal technologies in Connecticut, of course, the world, with tax incentives and all sorts of stuff coming in, there's going to be a lot of what I was under the impression of is federal dollars coming in. And I hope we'll be able to. I was talked with this commissioner, Brian Caffarelli, if I didn't mess up his name, John.
Caffarelli, yep.
Caffarelli. And a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about this, making sure that down the road that our trade schools, our schools like Melissa's, other schools have access to dollars possibly for programs going forward with geothermal. I've spoke with just in passing the other day with Chip here in Pember about it as well. Chip has been involved a little bit in the geothermal technologies himself, especially being a trade school teacher. I think, Chip, you had a little background too. Of course, Aaron has, but I know Chip has as well breached that subject in the past. And hopefully we'll be able to get something at a national level involved training in Connecticut too.
Sounds good.
Great. All right. Does anybody else have anything under new business before I close out the adjourn the meeting?
I have a quick question just for more towards Chairman and Mr. Pelliccia regarding the CE classes that I sent over. I just wanted to double check to see if you guys needed anything else, or if we have any decisions, I can get it all squared away in the system.
I know the swimming pool people have sent over some stuff. I have to review that as well. Again, in about 2 weeks, Rochelle, I'll be in contact with you anyhow. We're gonna put a list of curriculum materials up to the board based on timelines for the 5 hour. And then you guys can check off if you like it or not. And then we can make those appropriate changes. And then so it'd be probably about 2.5 weeks out right now for that.
Okay,
information.
I'll let them know. They were looking for updates, so I'll just let them know that they're still under review.
So I have a question about that, Chuck. So are you going to do that by email, or are we going to have a special meeting?
I'm gonna send an email out to everybody first with the agenda, with the list, and then I'll set up an appointment for everybody. So you can get back to your respective groups and what have you if they have any questions.
Okay, just because it's getting late and I know everyone's asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been delayed. We did get the state information on the changes legislatively that occurred just now. So we have that too, and that's being added 2 days ago to that program. So as soon as I get it together and I've addressed it, I'll get that out to everybody and you guys can review and get back to us.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Okay, is that it for everybody? Okay. And Rochelle?
Yes.
Once that is brought to the board and approved, the curriculum, then you'll be able to post that because I know you're new to this. I'm not sure if you've done it for electrical already. You post the curriculum on the website for the providers to get.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion, Mr.
I'll second.
Great. Great, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.